Electoral reform is the debate that political scientists like to have all around how do we choose our politician. Hello and welcome back to Politics for Beginners. My name is Clinton. Today we are going to be talking about how politicians get elected and the various different kinds of ways that elections can be conducted. This is actually one of my favorite topics to discuss and something that political scientists bat back and forth all the time. The big header is electoral reform. Electoral reform talks about the ways that our elections can be reformed or changed. This strikes at the very heart of democracy itself and tries to answer the question, what is the best way that citizens can pick their politicians? Let's start off with the system that we have right now in Canada, in the United States, and in many other democracies around the world, and that is first past the post. So in the Canadian context, we actually have local representatives. In the federal case, they are called members of parliament. And every local community will vote for their member of parliament to go to Ottawa. In Ottawa, there is the parliament, hence the name member of parliament. There are approximately just under 400 members of parliament that actually create the parliament. When we're talking about how politicians get elected, there's a difference between the seats and the actual national percentages. A seat is literally a physical chair, right? Ottawa, or the parliament, is a finite space. It is a room, and it has places for politicians to sit. I know it sounds simple, but I just really wanted to reiterate that point. If a politician wins a campaign, they are awarded a seat in parliament. The more seats that a particular party has actually allows them to form government. It's all based on this unit of seats. Now, that's not the way it has to be. That is just the way that it is. So I think it's important that we start with the base. Where are we at right now? And where we're at right now is we use a system called first past the post that awards the winning politician a seat in parliament. First past the post gets its name from horse racing. So in horse racing, if you've ever been down to the track, the horse that crosses the line first is the victor. You'll see this in various forms of track and field and in running, in swimming. It is the person who gets to the finish line first. They are the victor. What does this mean for the political context? Well, if we have a community where there was 100 votes, the individual or the candidate that received the most amount of votes, they're the person who's going to win. So if one candidate gets 40 votes and the second place candidate gets 39 votes, well, the person with 40 votes wins because they got the most amount of votes. Very simple. Most democracies around the world use this, and a big reason is because it's simple. We count up the votes, whether it be through paper ballots, through digital means, or counting acorns. It is very plain to see the individual with the most amount of votes wins. What is the problem with a system like this? Well, the biggest issue is when it actually comes down to if you are in the minority. If you happen to be and I'll use Canadian political parties as my example here. If you are a New Democrat in a conservative riding, meaning that your neighbors always vote conservative, and that conservative candidate wins time in and time out. However, your vote seems to not really matter because you are constantly outvoted by your neighbors. So you can see how it can be kind of frustrating for people in the minority, and they legitimately feel that their vote doesn't matter. The next form that we are going to talk about is called proportional representation. In a proportional representation model, we actually take the percentage of the whole nation. First past the post is really founded on the fact that all these small communities will elect somebody who goes into the main body or the parliament. In proportional representation system, you do not have these local representatives, and instead you allow the political party to actually have a lot more control. Instead of voting for a candidate, you will actually be voting for a political party. So the votes will be tallied on the national level. Going back to our example of the New Democrat in the largely conservative community. Under a proportional representation system, where you're not voting for the candidate, you're voting directly for the political party, this New Democrat would actually have their vote count more because it doesn't really matter who your neighbors are. In the proportional representation model, you're voting on a national level. So regardless if you agree with all your neighbors or you disagree with all your neighbors, the votes are being counted at a high level, not a local level. This is trying to solve the problem of actually making every single vote count. A big advantage of proportional representation is that it actually promotes diversity and inclusion within government. And this is because, again, you're giving control of who the actual politicians are to the political parties. If you have a parliament made up of 100 seats and 40 of those seats are awarded to the Liberals, say, we'll use them as an example, the Liberal Party will then choose, okay, we want 20 seats to be women, we want 20 seats to be men, we want this percentage to be represented by people of color, we want this represented by LGBT plus communities, or however they want to split up and choose. So it allows these large national political parties to actually select the individual members of parliament. Some people really like that because it promotes diversity and inclusion. Other people don't like that because you are essentially giving up control of who your politician is. The next system that I do want to address is called Ranked Ballot. And funny enough, this is actually the system that most political parties choose to actually find out who their leadership will be. In this system, it kind of works like basketball, if I could use that metaphor, how you have 3-point shots and then you have 2-point shots, right? In a ranked ballot system, you will choose your top candidate, who will be awarded 3 points. You choose your second candidate, who will be awarded 2 points, and your third candidate, who will be awarded 1 point. This is a way of essentially allowing the voter to choose multiple people and kind of arranging them in my top choice, my second choice, and my third choice, instead of just saying, okay, well, here's my one pick as a first past the post system or a proportional representation system. In ranked ballot, you actually have multiple choices. Each choice is given a higher or lower numerical value depending on where they sit in the tally. Now, why political parties like to use this system is because it actually will always pull towards the center. So if you have a right-wing guy, a left-wing guy, and a center guy, the people who are on the right will put right wing at number 1, center in number 2, and left in number 3. Where the people on the left will put the left is number 1, the center is number 2, and the right is number 3. They will get first position from their center supporters, and then they will be put in the second position by essentially their rivals, whether it be right or left, because they occupy the space in the center instead of being on the extremes. So ranked ballot, just by design, usually pumps out center candidates and pushes away the extremes. This is also why the Liberal Party really pushes this method because, again, they occupy that center space and they believe that if Canadian elections were switched over to this ranked ballot, they would benefit, which they arguably would. This tendency of ranked ballot to pull towards the center is a great advantage. The only disadvantage with ranked ballot is really the math. Who wants to do all that math? You know, this person gets this amount of votes and that person gets that amount, and it all kind of jumbles together, and there's a calculator involved, and it can get a little complicated. Okay, so candidate A was awarded 36 first round votes, which are 3 points a vote. But how much did candidate B get again? Is that first round votes or second round votes? How many points is that? Also, in different forms of ranked ballot, I'm kind of keeping it at a basic level, but there are multiple different phases, meaning you will have round 1, where maybe you have 20 candidates on the ballot, round 2, where you cut that down to 10, round 3, round 4, and you keep eliminating people, and it's just a very lengthy process that, did I say, involves math? Electoral reform is the debate that political scientists like to have all around how do we choose our politician. And the 3 major methods that we have talked about in this video are first past the post, proportional representation, and ranked ballot. I hope you guys have a better idea of what these various systems are, their pros and their cons. I am not going to tell you guys what to believe and what not to believe. My job here on this channel is to just define these terms, and I think we've done a decent job. Next time you're watching the news and they're talking about the percentage versus the amount of seats, I hope you guys are going to have more language to actually understand exactly what's going on, because that is the whole purpose of this channel, to empower you guys with the language and tools necessary to make up your own minds. I hope I inspired you guys to have conversation amongst your friends and amongst your family. If you have any follow-up questions, do leave them down in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, give it a like, give it a subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Clinton, and I will see you in the next video.